Hi, everyone. We're back. Happy 2021. Holy crap.
Hey.
We did it. We made it. I can't believe it. Um, so there's so much that has happened since we were last on live. But this year, we are switching up our format. So we are first going to talk about things that are happening in the culture.
Which, that's my favorite. My favorite is to have nerdy conversations about the quote culture. So what we talking about today, boo?
So there are two things that have been on our minds. And if you are friends with us on the socials, you will have seen it. So first, we are going to talk about DaniLeigh. Okay. So for those of you that don't, and well, actually,
is it DaniLeigh, DaniLeigh?
DaniLeigh. I don't know how to pronounce her name. I've never heard her music. I don't know her, but she has taken over.
What music, child?
I know her from the Shade Room because she is dating DaBaby. That's all I know. Lucy, any context?
What are we okay. Yes. So quick synopsis. So I guess from my understanding, DaniLeigh, I'm not quite sure how to say her name, but she is a really great dancer, and it appears that she does music, but like like everybody and their mama who does music. Anyway, she is dating the rapper DaBaby, which is one of the hottest rappers right now. And Mama recently made a song called Yellowbone. However, the problem with it is that Mama is a Blanquita. She's a Whitina. She's a white Latinx person. She is a white Dominican person who, now that she is dating the baby, now that she is trying to become a singer, now she's trying to do this weird thing, and it's no longer good enough to be Black adjacent. Like, I wear braids, I have a dark-skinned Black man, now I gotta act like I'm light-skinned, I'm a light-skinned Black woman when she is not. And so she released a song last week, Yellowbone, on top of the fact that it was typical white Latina woman acting like they are better than dark-skinned folks, even though she was saying she was just celebrating whatever, because the whole song is about Yellowbone, that's what he liked. DaBaby, again, like I said, dark-skinned Black man, his baby mama is a dark-skinned woman, his children are dark-skinned, and so she's really trying to like flex on us dark-skins that, oh, look at me, my man want this, that, and a third. But the thing is, it's the use of the word yellowbone, because yellowbone ain't for white women. And you could tell that this person wears makeup that's far too dark, and this, that, and third. So this is just high level Black fishing.
Yes, that was exactly what came to mind.
Yes, high level Black fishing, high level grift. However, one thing, I'll stop right there. You go ahead and say, and then we'll go into the second thing.
No, I think that, like, so for me, my only context was that she was a white Latina who was dating this African-American rapper, and that she likes to appreciate, but really appropriate Black culture. Definitely her spray tan is too much. And her hairstyles definitely, like, from like all kinds of braids, tried to do some kind of sister lock situation, like some kind of like faux lock situation, like to put some rollers in your hair to give you a curl, because her hair is not curly. Like it is like she's committed to presenting herself this way. But then the reason why I knew that she was white was because she had posted her like 23andMe, which we're going to talk about that, but she had actually posted her thing, like showing that she's white. So where, like, again, words have meaning, and like yellowbone is a thing. There are Black people that are way less melanated. Just, it is what it is, on the continent, off of the continent. And so to then use a word that has a meaning outside of its context is not okay. Like, you could date who you want. You can, I mean, whatever. Whatever floats your boat in terms of you want to wear braids, fine. I mean, I don't know. I don't have like I have no complex feelings about that. But I also feel like the predecessor of Donnie Lee or whatever her name is are the Kardashians. Because this I am well versed in, okay? Is that like this whole like, oh, I'm gonna create an entire body cosmetic line for me to show you that I am painting my skin a darker color. Not to cover up some splotches or whatever, which many folks need all across the color spectrum, but like literally Kim has been like, well, this is my actual color, and like this is the color that I like. Like I like the dark. Like she's literally done this on the internet. Like I mean, and we can also talk about Ariana Grande, right? Like,
ooh, yes,
so
ma'am.
this is in the tradition of a lot of folks that appreciate Black culture, see the value in Black followers, and make money off of an aesthetic and who they're associated with, yada, 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 then take it too far. Like, I mean, people can argue where's the line, but I think I do think like straight up making a song about being a yellow bone is like the point of no return for me.
Well, the point of no return would be would be the eugenesis project and breeding project I think the Kardashians are undergoing, but like
yes, because
that is another form of a line.
Yes, that is definitely
another line.
A line when 4 of 5 siblings have biracial children. Yeah.
Right. And so yeah, we live in a society that loves Blackness, but does not love Black people and wants to divorce Blackness from Black people. That is literally the context in which we're in, which is really weird because, you know, because a lot of people really think that you could have Blackness without Black people. I mean, good luck with that. You know, it makes for interesting social commentary, that's for sure. It makes for interesting posts on the Shade Room, but like that's not going down. And we this is the conversation around gatekeeping, because I think in our society, if we're being honest, there is a certain level of cultural appropriation that we're all okay with, right? Like everyone's okay for the most part with non-Black people of color or white Latinx folks speaking in African American vernacular. That is a form of cultural appropriation when we're looking at like the definition. Mm-hmm. But a lot of Black people, we ride with it, we go with it. Some of our favorite people talk like that, but it is cultural appropriation. But what happens when people like, okay, I'm gonna wear the braids. Okay, ain't nobody check me. All right. I got the Black man. Okay, ain't nobody gonna check me. All right. And then the next day it's just like, hold up. There are lines, there are like whatever. Because again, in these United States of America, you know, we're cross-pollinating. We're always sharing with each other stuff. And so there's a way in which like it's just there's a certain level of cultural appropriation that we all traffic in, that we've all universally decided that we can live with this. However, what you're not going to do, this is what you're not going to do. What you're not going to do is now be a white woman, act like you're Black because you're trying to get a certain cachet so that you can shit on darker skinned Black women. And this is the thing that like white Latinx women, non-Black women of color love to do. And to a certain degree, it's not their fault because they are surrounded by self-hating Black men who live to disrespect and denigrate dark-skinned Black women. And then they link up, and then all of a sudden it's like Voltron. Like now it's like just, you know, they're like on this epic level. But you know, it's just,
yeah, I mean, like for me,
everybody want to be dark-skinned Black women is the moral of the story, you know, and it's just like, you know, y'all gotta talk to whoever you believe for the next time to be in this, but it's like right now, that's not your time, that's not your goal, and like you ain't gotta shit on us to feel good about yourself. Ain't nobody checking for you, boo-boo. Trust and believe. And if you think you're gonna be successful actively shitting on Black women, maybe that was possible 5, 6 years ago, that's just not a winning strategy in this new world. Because Black women and femmes, I don't know if Danny Lee heard, but we the culture, you know. If baby, if we say no more, if we want to stop a check, we could stop a check.
And I think it's also, so the thing that gets me is that it was an anthem, literally marketed, billed as an anthem. That's why I can't get over it, because like I had other things to do with my time, but really I was in the comments. I definitely was in the comments, which
You
I
were not.
rarely do, because I think comments are a waste of life, because literally humanity goes
No,
to
they're
die.
not.
But here's the thing. I had Black women arguing with me that, oh, well, there are no Dominicans that are white. So like, yeah, she is a yellow. And I'm like, it was just highlighted for me that like, and I didn't engage. So like, I'm like, I'll comment, and then like, I'm not gonna go back and forth with you. So have fun talking to yourself. So I like looking at all of the comments on like various pages, it just shows how much there's a lack of education and understanding about what race is and what it isn't.
BINGO. Period.
Like
period.
that
Nobody knows what nationality is,
or
what
ethnicity
is, and what race is, and how we make culture socially and relationally.
Right. It's in
people have no idea.
Right.
People have no idea.
So that's where it's like you can't. So I think this is a great segue to our second culture conversation, which is around the whole 23andMe thing. So there are, okay, so keep in your mind that culture and race are defined in relation to other human beings, right? This is a social project. Both of them are social projects. You all know I love Bravo, okay? So I love Bravo. I watch every Bravo show. I'm a rock with it. Problematic, not problematic, devoid from reality, fine. But one of the so the Real Housewives of OC, which is the original host,
ooh, that is my show, girl.
Like, it is the OG of the OC. It is the original. That is the template. And so one of the women, who actually like joined the show 5 years ago identifying as Latina, but then like never brought it up again, like presented as white, acted white, has never had any like racial consciousness, like nothing at all. And also you're in California, so it's like, it's not like this would be a strange thing. So
a white Latina?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you see her family, and her family is like white American. Like the family that shows up on the show is white American. So like, I've always been like, is Kelly Dodd really Latina? But you know, I don't police people's identity. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna rock with it. But again, it never becomes a storyline, never gets brought up. So she is a conservative. Her new husband is a commentator on Fox News. She has been very vocally a Trump supporter and very vocally anti-BLM. On the socials, and gets dragged consistently for this. Like she's consistently dragged on social media for being problematic, but on the show she generally is not problematic. I'd say that context. So basically they're in the reunion right now, and the
50 episode reunion,
the 3-part reunion, they're on like 2. Actually, I feel like it's airing today. I don't remember. Yeah, I think it is airing today. So the second part is airing today, and the clip that they've been playing over and over and in the promo is, "I'm not racist, I'm Black," and she's like screaming it at like the top of her lungs. And I'm like, also speaking about like dark fishing and like spray tans being like too much, all of them are guilty of that in the show. But anyway. Loompas, like I'm just like, you, like we know what you look like because you didn't look like that in the confessional. So anyway, so I was like, is she Black? I went on a Google. I was like, this whole time.
I know that's right.
What is happening? How did I miss this? Also, there's an entire subculture on social for Black people and like basically non-white people who like Bravo and who are Bravo celebrities. So like it's like a thing. So people are like, how did I miss this? How like we normally like very like look into this.
I just Googled mama. I don't think so.
Why did she post in her stories that she is 0.9% from North Africa? I was done. I was like, okay, we need to like disband 23andMe and all of these things. Number one, like you don't even understand that like you can be North African and not Black. Number one, just because you see the word African on it, Africa on it, like doesn't mean that you are actually Black. That's number one. Because to be African and to be Black are two different things. They're interlinked. But again, if you have a basic understanding of race, you would know these things. But anyway, then like there have been so many incidents in the last 3 months, like the last 3 weeks of folks coming out as like they were pretending to be Hispanic or Latina and they were white, that they were pretending to be Black and they were white. Like just like we thought Rachel Dolezal was a unicorn.
Pretending to be indigenous and they were white.
Exactly. So like from Elizabeth Warren all the way down to Hilaria Baldwin, like and everybody in between.
Yo,
like
Hilaria.
Hilaria, formerly known as Hillary, formerly known as Hilaria. Who knows? Like whatever. It's Ilaria, but I know that. But like this, the fact that she's a gringo, who has an affinity for Mallorca, which is also very strange. Like you think that like because you like a place, you can subsume yourself in this identity is very strange to me. But
I mean, that's every white person who is writing a travel blog elsewhere right now, low key. But I'm gonna shut my mouth.
I mean, I think it highlighted for me again the fact that people do not have a fundamental understanding of race and ethnicity and nationality, and that like there's something that's uniquely American about this issue, honestly.
Oh, yes.
This like search for like there are industries built on people finding themselves, whether it is your DNA, whether it is your spirituality, whether it is your higher like there is this constant searching. And I mean, one could argue that like this is the symptom of late stage capitalism, but there is this hunger for an identity, and like the folks that like dismiss this are like, oh, like this is why identity politics is trash and whatever. And like, no, actually, we should be able to harness our power and based off of our communities and act collectively. So like, no, that's not where I'm going with this. I think it's more that that in particular, white Americans have this like, one, it's a mixture of entitlement to think that you can actually become whatever you want. You can't become another race. You can't become another ethnicity, right?
Yes, you can if you're white. It's peak white power, peak. But I hear you. I just wanted like to underscore that.
Well, like technically it is, because we have so many cases of people doing this, like from movement lawyers to elected officials to
Bravo. Oh my God. Yes, that lawyer not too long ago.
Who I actually knew. And I was like, oh wow.
Rosa Clemente had did a IG live like a week or two ago about that. Ooh, Chile. And it looked like Mama was like, yeah, those who know, we knew Mama was not Mama was lying, but people protected her, and like now she's trying to force this accountability, which is now it's opening up a new conversation about how these social justice tools get weaponized to protect white supremacy in a very specific kind of way. But that's not the conversation for today.
Well, I think that like, so one thing is the entitlement that you think that you are entitled to then become a whole nother person and it, like either infuse yourself in a history that is not yours or ignore a history that is not yours, because people be moving in different ways in these instances, and the fact that there's actually no real consequence. Like there's no real consequence because of white supremacy, right? So it is white supremacist and it's really colonial. It is the colonial mentality to think that you can identify, take, and then appropriate another person's identity or culture. And then it is also a tool of white supremacy that there actually be no consequences for white people, because we don't have the power, right? Because racism is about power. That's the other thing. It's not just about like a physical presentation, which is why like reverse racism is not a thing, because non-white people do not have the structural, institutional, and historical power to bring about consequence or oppression to white people. And that is also why they get away with it. Because like, how do we punish them? How is there accountability? By, oh, you're gonna do a circle? Like a circle is not gonna, like, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna return all your scholarships? Like, are you gonna delete your Harvard degree? Like, the damage is done. You already reaped the benefits.
Ooh, Chile, I don't know, child. That's I'm glad I'm not in that community. I'm not in community with them. So that big question doesn't have to keep me up at night. However, I will say this. I don't recommend Black people engage with these DNA tests. First of all, I think we have to really think critically here. What does it look like for a for-profit company to now to tell Black people who they are, where they're from, and all that kind of stuff? Like, I just think it's really wild, as people who were stolen, as people who were trafficked, to give like white supremacy this kind of power to define us. Because we have to understand, like, on the continent, like the way we were defining kinship before we were trafficked, before we were stolen, is not how kinship is understood here in these United States, number one. Number two, it's for profit. Your DNA material is data. Why would you sell that to them so they can turn around and sell it to the police department? I remember, was it last year before, like one of these DNA companies partnered with Spotify, and based on your like DNA, they would match it with whatever. Like, they just you just gave your DNA material to a for-profit company who turned around and sold it to another for-profit company for playlists. Let's stop it. And so belonging to oneself and finding home in oneself, I agree with you. The amount of North Americans, when I was in Canada, when I was here, people always like, I don't feel like I belong here. I don't belong in this city. I don't belong in whatever. It's just so sad, because you see these predatory things prop up that are like preying on people's psyches, preying on people's dollars and cents, because I don't belong. And to me, it's just like, the belonging you are looking for is probably going to be found in therapy, on a yoga mat, probably in an RJ circle with your family members. Like, you need to do deep healing to get to the answers that you need to get. A 23andMe, these Ancestry.com, that is not the thing that's going to fill that void. And also, this is going to come back to bite us. And the thing I hate about these genetic materials is that even if I, Lucy Bisagu, never give my DNA to these companies, if someone in my family does, they by definition have my stuff. So I don't even have the opportunity to consent or to opt out because of all of this kind of stuff. So we have to understand, this is why this Kelly Dodd and this Danny Lee can be like, oh, Danny Lee in one tweet, I'm white, I'm Black, I'm this, I'm that, all because of her 23andMe. And so what we need to be thinking about is just like, we're gonna see more and more white people taking these ancestry tests and weaponizing them against Black people to do real serious harm. And heaven forbid we ever get to a place in this country where we could get real reparations package for Black Americans whose people were turned into chattel slavery on these lands. We're gonna have to be really careful, because people who are gonna be coming out of nowhere, Johnny come latelys, are gonna be saying, but I'm Black, go ahead and run me my reparations check. And I want us to understand, if you understand how colonialism works, if your people were colonized, we are all mixed race to a certain degree, because which is why I have a very serious problem with this interesting way that mixed race people talk about this, that, and a third. And it's just like, we don't understand how race is and what racism is, and the socio-cultural, all those kind of things. And what we're doing is, unbeknownst to us, we are reinforcing fake pseudoscience with these things. And y'all, the genie is already out the bottle. Let's do our best to clean up, but we need to have at this stage in the game, especially as everyone, this racial reckoning, I just need everyone to just understand. I want you to just go and look, how do Black and Indigenous geneticists and biologists, how do they define race? If we don't start there, we're going to keep falling into these holes, and just like anybody can be Black, anybody could be this, anybody could be that. Meanwhile, I mean, weren't you born Black? Wasn't I born Black? Was it like, isn't our health outcomes the fact that I almost went blind, almost died, ain't it based on the fact that I'm Black, this, that, and the third? I just like, y'all stop it with these games. Stop it with these games. And I just need people in these United States of America to just really understand the difference between race and ethnicity. Being Dominican is not a race, fam. Like, and the amount of Black people, everybody who makes this mistake,
and Armenia is not being Black.
Girl, this is
I hate it so much.
I hate it
exhausting
so much.
Like, located on a map, if you don't know, it's in the Caucasus Mountains.
But that confusion is on that confusion is only here. Do you hear Italians and people from Greece talking about, I'm a person of color because I'm naturally tan as a white person? That is the level of confusion here in these United States and North America. Why? Because we don't read, we don't study, and we don't do the hard work of getting our healing done and answering these questions. We keep looking for for-profit institutions to answer deep existential philosophical questions within thyself that cannot be answered. I'm sorry, y'all. You're gonna have to do the hard, boring, unsexy work of finding yourself by getting back into yourself. And you can't IG Live your process through that. You can't 23andMe that process. You can't do any of those things. And so, like, surveillance capitalism is real. Very soon we're going to get to a place where we're going to be talking about digital sovereignty, because we are too quick to give.
We're at that place.
Okay. We're too quick to give up our data and our sovereignty and our whatever. We need to stop giving your DNA material to companies. If you know the history of Henrietta Lacks, if you understand the history of the Tuskegee Airmen, if you understand what the United States did to Haitians around HIV/AIDS, you would not willingly sign up to give a for-profit company your DNA materials. Stop it, people. Stop it. Read, do your due diligence. Just say no.
And here's the thing, so one is, we have this culture of like, we are going to pay someone else to fix our problems. That is really the underlying issue here, which you have gone into detail about. The other thing is that there are, like, I feel like we find the situations that happen in the most, like, a small segment of the population that is somehow lucrative, and then expand it to the masses. So there are people who are adopted, people who are orphaned, people who, you know, are left, like, who fled and just never told their story. There are people, like, genealogy is real, and it is important, and it is actually a part of our traditions as human society to be able to know where we come from, right? And it is a process, not a science, right? Like, it's not versus genealogy, right? So genetics. So I feel that, like, I do want to uplift that there are folks that are doing these tests because they want to know, and they have no way of knowing because they don't have a human source to be able to go to. They don't have a family history, stories that have been told to them. So I feel like that was originally the purpose. Like, I remember, like, being in middle school when Ancestry.com came out, and it was like these stories of like, oh, this is a person who like came here in World War II, and like they lost today's World Holocaust Remembrance Day, lost their families to Holocaust, don't know anything else beyond their grandparents, right? Like, there are people who don't have that access, and there was a market for that. And now it again, because the larger American public is always searching for something deeper, like, find like, oh, actually this random DNA test that we came up with is quite successful. And now we have like 5 different competing companies because, you know, that's free market. And
Disgusting.
it is really disgusting. The other thing that I want to say is that race is a shared history, a collective history, right? So I feel like folks who generally, like, I think of all the like academics and stuff who have been posing as somebody else are really good in that shared history. They could spit facts. They often show up in spaces trying to check you on what you know and don't know. And that has been a consistent theme of how people were like, this person isn't really Black, because like nobody really goes around saying these things. They overperform. The other thing is that it is a personal lived experience. And so when we have to think about, as we are increasingly mixed or whatever, as like I have folks of various like races in my family, like that shows up. I know that like my experience versus another cousin's experience is very different. We are very clear that we operate in the world two different ways. Like, do we share a grandparent? Yes. But that does not change the fact that like I present a certain way and they present a certain way. And I think that before I had a visceral rejection of like, we've talked about this of like, I don't like gatekeeping Blackness, like being Black enough and all of these things. But I think in a very real way, if I'm walking down the street and like Donnie Lee is walking down the street, who's gonna think they're Black? Please let me know. So when you're denied service, when the doctor doesn't believe you when you're in pain, when you're denied for a loan, when you have to, be extra friendly with this approachable look on your face walking down the street, that is a very lived personal experience that cannot be appropriated. No matter how much you tan yourself, and no matter how much you may choose to present a certain way using African-American vernacular and all of these things. So like I think that ultimately race is something that does not show up on your DNA test. So also it's just like, it's like bullshit, because like there's no DNA marker that you're Black or you're Asian
my God.
or whatever. It's literally
like that's it.
Like the physical land that your family has been through. That is it. Like, and lands are not people. People are people. And lands have a variety of people. So like on the island of Hispaniola, there are white people, there are Arabs, there are Jewish people, there are Black people, there are folks that are descendants of indigenous people. That like the land tells you nothing. The land is land. So and that is the difference between a nationality or an ethnicity versus race. But anyway, I digress.
Okay, child, let's get into the meat and the potatoes and the tofu.
Well, if you have been watching our For Reals for a while, you know that we really emphasize the fact that you need to be able to have the uncomfortable conversations with your people in order for us to be able to have a anti-racist, anti-fascist society where folks can thrive. Right? This has been the refrain every time. On January 6th, what happened was when you don't call in your people, we have the insurrection of 2021.
Ooh, wait. Bring that back, DJ. Say that again. What?
When you don't call in your people and have the difficult conversations about your problematic family members that are QAnon conspiracy theorists and racist, they stormed the Capitol building.
But everybody won't though. Everybody won't. Everybody want a reading list. Everybody want 50-11 questions. Meanwhile, you can't talk to me, Mom, Paul. You can't talk to Josh and them. And Josh and them stormed the Capitol. It was ready to hang Mike
live streamed it
and decapitate Nancy Pelosi.
With the literal gallows, like with the literal noose, with bombs, like with bombs and like homemade bear mace and like all of this crazy shit. Like Crazy shit. And speaking of shit, then decided to shit in the Capitol and smear it around the place. I have never heard. That's one of the details that like I will never be able to get over.
Never.
With the Blue Lives Matter.
Never.
We told y'all Blue Lives Matter was a racist scam, but no, the lives of police officers, like there are non-white police officers, there aren't non-white police officers. Hello, that's why they literally bludgeoned to death a police officer, and y'all got 2 police officers who have committed suicide today. Another one committed suicide today from the trauma of this insurrection. So when you say, oh no, but I just mute them, I unfriend them, that's why I'm not going to Thanksgiving, you are literally perpetuating white supremacy.
Well, we told y'all. We told you that if you don't do your work, and your work is to gather thy people by gathering thyself, because it's a symbiotic process. As I gather myself, I gather my people, right? Or at the very least, because and now look, so now we have a situation like, if you think, you know, I really hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it is what it is. If you think for a minute we're gonna get any modicum of anything that looks like inclusion, not even justice, inclusion, and that you think we're gonna get that without blood, sweat, and tears, nah, boo. I'm sorry. So many Black people have died. So many Black people have been martyred. We just celebrated Martin Luther King Day, right? He would have been 92nd had he 92 years old, had he not been assassinated. He probably would have been alive. If white people think for 1 second, white people who are watching this, that you might not lose yourself or your people physically in the quest for social justice, in the quest for gender liberation, queer liberation, and the liberation of this land so indigenous North American folks could get their land back, you're sadly mistaken, because as you can see, the other side is deeply committed enough to go to prison for 20 years if need be, committed to die for their goals. So I'm not saying, I guess, it's just like, let's go back to Biggie, ready to die. It's just like, we really, and I'm not trying to be funny, but it's just like, the United States of America came together through violent wars, violent projects, violence. And if we think we're going to tip that scale, we're going to get that arc of justice that bends. And the same way John Lewis skull got cracked on that bridge. If you think we're just gonna read our way, we're just gonna unblock and unfriend our way to social justice,
meme our way to justice.
Good luck, boo boo. Good luck. Me and mine will be on the Underground Railroad. No, you can't come with me. And so we told y'all. I just want to know, how many times do people have to fall asleep at the wheel? Because it's just like, first they said they woke up during the Trump election. Everybody took to the street. Women's March happened. Everybody woke up. Boom. Then everybody it just seems like every couple of years people keep falling asleep, and now your own people, your own family members have turned into treasonous seditionists right under your nose. Terrorists. And I really applaud the white people who have enough moral courage and fortitude to turn their kin in, and I wonder how many are not and why they are not.
I think so one in the note of we told y'all, which is why we actually labeled this we told y'all today. One thing is that people have thought that, the fact that we keep on talking about race, the fact that we keep on naming white supremacy, the fact that we keep on saying doing the work, the fact that we say that fascism is on the rise and this is not okay and this is alarming. It was like I'm saying the house is on fire, and y'all thought I was exaggerating. You thought Black people were exaggerating. The fact that like people are and continue to be committed to racial justice is because we see it when y'all don't. So maybe next time, listen when people are warning you about violence, warning you about an overreach, warning you about abuses, because we actually know the radical imagination of white supremacy on a very personal level.
And which is why folks have to listen to us and say like why we're not going to moderate and centrist our way out of this either. There's nothing centric or middle of the road about intervening and disrupting the fact that 74 million Americans voted for Trump, and we said that they voted for fascism. Like I'm literally quoting myself. I wrote this in a newsletter. These people voted for fascism and for various levels of dog whistles. White people were the overwhelming majority on January 6th. They were not the only bodies who were out there. And so, y'all, if you are anti-racist, if you are progressive, what are you progressing towards? What are you going to? And you cannot be anywhere in the middle, because the same way those people were ready to kill elected officials, don't think for a second they're not going to be out here. They wouldn't turn their guns on you. You who are in interracial marriages, you who have mixed race children, you who are Jewish, you name it, go on and so forth.
Not
So
even like, you who don't believe what they believe. Because you have Nancy Pelosi and all of these other legislators, with the exception of the squad, which they were intent on killing as well. You had white people who had very similar backgrounds to them, who they were willing to kill, including Mike Pence,
right?
Who they were willing to kill because they did not believe the same thing that you did. It is not even about having another intersection of another identity. It is literally the fact that you do not believe, you do not worship at the altar of Donald Trump. You do not think that there is, that Parkland was were crisis actors. You like the fact that you do not believe what they believe. They see you as the enemy, and they're willing to kill you, and they're willing to die for their ideology. If that is not radicalization, and if that is not that racial identity extremism, if that is not white supremacy, then I don't know what is. And to say that not just folks were like, okay, November, whatever, I think it was like 15th or 16th, when finally we knew the outcome of the election, folks put their feet up and were cold chilling. When literally out in the open, people were saying that we're going to use every trick in the book or outside of the book to stop this transfer of power. You had this man say, Michael Cohen told y'all 2 years ago that Trump is not going to leave and there will be no peaceful transfer of power. People thought it was ridiculous that people were asking Trump during the debates, do you commit to a peaceful transfer of power? To which he did not commit to. So then don't act brand new and this is not who we are and the shock and whatever to the events of January 6th. Don't be surprised when he is watching the events unfold on television in his room instead of doing anything and denying the National Guard being deployed. He told you who he was. We told you who he was. I remember I had a memory, I do story memory of January 21st, 2017. So the day of the Women's March, and the chant that I will never forget that was so chilling to see, because I low-key feel vindicated, but like I don't feel proud, is that my chant that I was chanting was no Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA, no Trump. If that is not, I had that level of clarity in 2015 through 2017. There were thousands of people, tens of thousands of people telling you that.
Yeah. I just, we told y'all, we're tired of telling y'all, and I don't see how y'all president finna unite the country with people who want other people dead. just because we're moving on with Biden. I don't I'm struggling. I'm struggling to understand. I'm just struggling. I don't know. It's just like we told y'all. Y'all don't listen. And I'm just really shocked by the amount of people, white people in particular, who don't know how to talk to other white people in their same class status and in their family. People who, whether they're in-laws, people they're married to. I'm actually really shocked by that. So many of you are so not practiced in being human with other white people, which says a lot. Like you're constantly wanting to be in the faces of Black people, in the faces of other racialized folks, and constantly like, and it's just like over here is not where the work gets done. Some of that work gets done over here with us in multiracial coalition building and solidarity making, but a lot of that work has to be with other anti-racist white people, other progressive white people, and it has to be with your family members. Now, I understand how conspiracy and QAnon works. A lot of y'all family is not, they not coming back from that. But how do you really know if you're not trying? And at some level, if you don't see it as your job to go rescue other white people, can I really trust you to be on my side? Because it's just like there's a certain kind of white person after they've read a certain amount of books, this, that, and the third. Oh, they just don't got time for them kind of whites. They have no patience, the emotional labor. I hate those two words together. Oh my God. If there ever was a word that I would want to like stricken from people's brains, all relationships are labor, all of them, even good ones, great ones, transformative ones. It requires some level of exchange and labor. And so and even that, like even the thinking of relationships through a capitalist lens is disgusting. But we really think we're about to raise each other's consciousness to stop being homophobic, to stop being transphobic, to stop being xenophobic, anti-Black, anti-Indigenous. And we think that's not going to require work, tears. We think that's not going to require maybe storming off, maybe having a 90-day cool-off period that I don't talk to you, that we may need to call mediators. We may need to have RJ circles. We have to try everything, because like fam, this like the earth is what's at stake. The earth is what's at stake. It's today the capital, tomorrow is what else is there? Like, oh my, like sometimes I'm like, am I the only one who knows that we're like on the brink of a climate disaster, that we are on the brink of all of these different things, and that it is through hard conversations, it is through blood, sweat, and tears that the only way to get over is to get through it. Like sometimes I just feel like, wait, am I living in an alternative universe where there's an existential crisis going on?
Well, I think so. This just hit me as you were speaking. I feel that, and this is a similar thread from the earlier conversation, that white people have not had to navigate through discomfort in social situations in the ways that Black people, Indigenous people, Asian folks literally have to rejigger their whole existence when they occupy a space. So like the fact that nobody ever thinks, well, not nobody ever thinks, let me not make a broad generalization, but that you have to negotiate your relationships in a way that is in align with your values. I just don't, I think, yeah, it's fast. Like if this wasn't impacting my life, if my life wasn't in danger, this would be fascinating. But I think folks should really take a hard look of why the thought of having to engage with the really difficult things with your own people is what is the challenge, because I can't do that for you. Listening to this is not going to do that for you.
No. Nope.
Restarting your life in another town is not going to do that for you, because you're going to constantly you're going to find people that ascribe to this ideology and that that are only going to listen to you. That's the thing. Okay, so
And
time check. But
okay, and you know what's really interesting? What's really interesting is that I really hope once and for all we can bury this narrative about who the Trump voter is, because the Trump voter is
yes,
actually very diverse. Like, you had someone who took a private jet to an insurrection, down to people who drove, down to people who took flights and those kinds of things. So we need to have this conversation. So yeah, sorry. A lot of you thought that by leaving your small rural town, moving to these big cities, that you were escaping the rednecks, you were escaping racism. Newsflash, there is racism in blue states, there are racism in purple states, and there's racism at your WeWork office where you're at the kombucha stand. Like, sorry, boo. Like, there racism is there and all of those things. And so all of you left your people behind. You think you're better than your people, and then you get mad when QAnon and everyone else talks to them. Yeah, those people are more likely to fall into cults, because QAnon and all those other people see their humanity. And to a certain degree, one of my favorite
validation.
academic one of my favorite academic journalists is Sarah Kendzior, and she co-hosts the podcast Gaslit Nation. And she said something that was really powerful, that every conspiracy theory does have a kernel of truth.
Yes.
So when we think about the QAnon, right, about like there's this cabal within the Democratic Party that's trafficking kids, that was true. That was Jeffrey Epstein.
And the other,
all of your faves
have selfies with
on his plane, have selfies, this, that, and a third. And so to a certain degree, I totally get it. That was a international child sex ring happening in broad daylight. So there is some level,
because that's the thing, right? Because it's about
broad daylight. Everyone knew about Harvey Weinstein on some level. So I say all of this to say, it's just like no one is prone. Look, all of this to say, we all have work to do. I said that the last time 74 million people voted for Trump. That means all of us, irrespective of race, irrespective of ethnicity, irrespective of our class standing, know someone intimately well who voted for Trump. What are we gonna do? I know what black people are doing. I know what non-black people of color are doing. But white people, it was the majority of your people storming the Capitol with their Confederate flag, walking through the place and painting the walls with shit. What you gonna do?
The jarring thing for me was the fact that, like, as we're like live tweeting or in the days after, like, people being like, oh, my childhood best friend's mom, or like all of these people, like, these are people that are 1 degree of separation from me. 1 degree of separation from me. How do I feel safe with y'all? Think about that. Like, don't be in solidarity. Like, solidarity is not helpful to me when literally the people in your life are a danger to me. And that is the calculation that we make. So seeing on social like this, oh, you're so distraught that you have a family member that whatever, I'm like, oh, great. So on the list of people that I don't trust now, like, because there could have been some intervention before this point, because this was not the warning sign. You knew about this person being radicalized and did nothing about it. And I mean, another episode is going to have to be talking about the people of color who were so this, I mean, well, I don't know. I don't want to flame through at the last 5 minutes. I'm a big fan. We're gonna talk about that at a later date. So much material.
I mean, the final thing I want to say is, like, there are levels to the work. Reading is one level. Trying to diversify your friend group is another level. But talking to your people, organizing your people is a bulk of it though.
And that's where it happens. That's ultimately where it happens. So there were definitely lots of reactions in the on the live. Thank y'all for watching. We are bringing it back. We are going to be here every Wednesday at 6:30 on Facebook. We may be making a move somewhere else. We'll keep you updated when we know. But some of the things that we're definitely going to get into in the next few weeks is what we didn't get to talk about today was around the inauguration and the fact that we do have a new president and what exactly does that mean. There are many thoughts. We have many thoughts on that. Also, there, just like we had a conversation about selling your DNA, you folks are really needing to have to come to terms with operating in this digital world. What does engaging with these apps actually mean? When you are the currency, you are the valuation. Your data is the money, right? That you
AKA Clubhouse.
We have so many conversations, so many thoughts about Clubhouse. And also interested in what you all would be interested in hearing about. So definitely DM / I forgot what the messenger us. I was like, I forgot what the Facebook equivalent is. That is. We would love to hear from you. Any final thoughts, Lucy?
That's it. You got it. Stay safe.